Welcome to the Divine Advantage Podcast. Here are your hosts, Skeldon and Brian Orme.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Divine Advantage Podcast. So good to have you today. Special shout out to our pray.com friends. If you're not following us there, check it out. Pray.com. Download that app. Go to the profile. Look up Divine Advantage and you will find us. There'll be great content. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe there as well. We got another awesome interview today with a great friend that I've known for quite a while, who's doing some awesome stuff in the tech space, building an amazing business, a platform that's impacting millions and millions of people around the world. And he's doing some other great things as well. But I want to do a little intro for my friend. He's based out of Lake Tahoe, California. Actually, no, Lake Tahoe, Nevada, the Nevada side. Let me correct. He's on the Nevada side. But Knopf is the co-founder of Webconnex. Webconnex is an online platform that has a lot of different types of things that it's doing as far as ticketing and helping people raise money for their initiatives, for their charitable giving. And this is a startup that was back in the day, 2008. And now they've processed over $2 billion worth of money through their platform. And they did it all without one single penny of venture capital. Come on. Eric also regularly speaks on startups, entrepreneurship for various organizations, events, and podcasts. He's one of the top entrepreneurship thought leaders, named on Twitter by Forbes and Inc., and named as a top 40 under 40 by Business Journal. He's married, has 2 children, and like I said, they reside in Lake Tahoe. So let's do this with my friend, Knopf. Let's bring him on.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Right.
Good to see you.
You too.
So I gave a little intro for our friends that are watching and tuning in today, but give us a little high-level view of who in the world is Knopf.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Yeah, I'm the co-founder of a tech company called Webconnex. We make event registration, event ticketing software. We will be used to process about $2 billion a year right now for people hosting events and fundraisers. So everything from a concert to a conference to a sports camp to church giving, anything in between. So payment processing, software for that. And, people are like, well, I've never heard of you. Like that's the point. Our software is brandable by our customers. And so we have the joy of being able to process and power the events for organizations like CrossFit and Passion Conference and Jesus Culture and Catalyst, FCA, Young Life, a lot of kingdom initiatives and endeavors, which is really great. And then huge brands like Toyota and Southwest Airlines and Red Bull and anybody in between. So it is a blast. We have about a team of about 100 staff members, which is just wild.
That is wild.
My co-founder, John, we are good buddies and started the company back in 2008. So we are 15 years old and we've been on this pursuit of how can we run the most generous, empowering, and fun company culture ever and compete in billion-dollar spaces. And so we are having a great time exploring this wild experiment.
Love it. I remember us sitting down when I was living in Sacramento, and it was like beta version of this thing many years ago.
Right.
Right. And just to see where it's evolved and expanded is really incredible. In that journey of kind of the initial, here's an idea, we're starting to build it out, build some framework. What's that look like in the scaling of this thing as far as God showing up and kind of these memorial stones, these moments where it's just you recognize there's a favor on this that's beyond just my own capacity and gifting?
Our journey and story is best served over alcohol with a cigar in hand, but I'll give you a couple highlights. One was John and I founded the business and we're both believers. And we felt this kind of longing to build a tech company and a business that would be people first, that would care for the humanity of people. And back when we were starting, it really was like, company culture wasn't really even a term that was widely used. And if it was, it kind of just meant that you had a ping pong table or beer keg on tap, And so we started as a side project, really in 2008 when there's a massive recession and we didn't raise any money, but even if we wanted to raise money, no one would have given it to us. We had these big established competitors and So we didn't have that, really sensational, unique part where investors were trying to come after us and beg us to give us money, which was interesting because it almost felt like you were the outsider, like you were reading all the tech news and all these like big companies being famous, and XYZ company raised a $200 million Series J, and like no one's calling us, no one is reaching out to us. And so we decided that we want to do a different way to grow a tech company, because these companies, they'll raise hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's really a moonshot. It's really, they're going for growth at all costs, and growth at all costs usually is a pretty reckless journey where the people are the casualties. And right now, in our current time right now, you're seeing mass layoffs of these tech companies, and they're not profitable. Their economics don't work, and so in their world, laying off people is plan 1A if this isn't working. And so we didn't have the venture capital, and so we would grow our business, and every single dollar that we made, we'd put it back in the company, and we grew within our means and maintained profitability. And so it was kind of a slow growth all the way through, let's say 2012, 2013, 14. And that's when it really started to grab traction of the long-term view we were playing in the market, and started receiving a lot of incredible customers coming to us to power their events and their fundraising. And so that was all great. And in that time, we were kind of awakened that the corporate vehicle, the business venture, is one of the most strategic weapons of the kingdom of God to bless people. And from company culture of just having some place that is fun, we wanted to basically weaponize our company for the good of our people, and the good of their families, and the good of their kids, and the good of our city, and ultimately the good of our state and nation, And so this idea that if you want to change someone's world, first change their work environment, because so much of what happens in people's lives is going to first start at work. Half of your adult life is going to be spent at this place called work. And so if you can make work to be this fun, empowering place, and you like the other people you work with, that is the first domino to fall in a number of dominoes that can transform a family. The best thing and the most common thing I hear from somebody who comes to work for us is it'll be about 4 or 5 months later from when they start, and I'll hear from a spouse. Typically, I'll get like a private message, and a spouse is like, "Thank you. Like, we're sleeping better. We're spending more time with the kids. We've lost weight. We've got into our fitness," and their whole entire life has been catalyzed because work has not been this drudgery or this place where all of your anxiety and all your fears have been pent up, and hasn't been this place that occupies all of the negative feelings. So in 2015, 16, we really wanted to go after company culture as this advantage that we would have in the marketplace. We can't compete with Apple, Facebook, Amazon. We can't compete with their wages. We can't compete that they've got hundreds of millions of dollars, right? We have to compete differently. Let's compete with people, and let's compete with a long-term view that would say we're going to stay within our margins. We're going to grow responsibly. We're not going to be reckless. We're going to put people first. And if we can have people spend a long time with us, that we'll be able to create an exponential impact. So we have a small team relative to our competitors, but we have this incredible impact that's disproportionate to all of our competitors. And so that's been incredible. And that was incredible all the way until 2020, when our events industry was basically outlawed. So that was a wild encounter, and stared at the abyss of being effectively outlawed. We were done. When your industry is outlawed, you're going to have a pretty big arithmetic problem. So we saw revenue go to zero, like overnight. Revenue went to zero because every large event was outlawed. What's worse than that is that when these events were canceled, they go back and they mass refund people. And so our fee gets captured by Visa, MasterCard. And in the span of about 2 weeks, about 4 months of revenue was clawed back, and we were left with 30 days to live. And we just wept with our team. We just said, it gets me choked up every time I talk about it, is if you can go get a job, go get a job. And we had lined up different relationships and different customers and vendors. We were in contact with Zoom to place, 15 customer support people. And at the time, we were only 40 people at that time. And we just, wept with them. We were honest with them, like, this is going to be bad. And we had some incredible prayer warriors that gave us encouragement, prophetic words, incredible things. But we just couldn't escape the reality of, like, this is going to be really, really bad, because how we make 80% of our revenue right now is illegal. And so we told the team, go get a job, or you can stay, and we're going to fight like mad. And you're welcome to stay. Every single staff member decided to stay. And so we were able to buy some time with the Paycheck Protection program, and that bought us a little time. And then our team just like went for it. And we just pressed into the encouraging things we heard. And so we were able to recover through that, kept every job, and then really found ourselves on the other side of the market where all of our competitors had laid everybody off. And here we are, and we just went for it. And so we had just this incredible comeback at the end of 2020 into 21. And ever since then, it's just been this crazy journey. So I'm so thankful to God, and all glory to him for us not messing it up, but the kingdom strategy and the angle that was present with our company, within our team, was incredible. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of our story there.
That's remarkable, man. In the midst of a really challenging situation. So many questions, but I want to start back with your culture, because I think this is, like you said, it's key to everything. I mean, every quadrant of society, whether it's business, government, founded on family, and just that culture and value of connection, that you're not just a number, not just like clocking in, clocking out, but there's something more significant. What are things maybe in your past that kind of prepared you to really value this? Is there something maybe in your upbringing, or just like moments with God? What was it like, man, I got to go for this? Or was it more just it evolved naturally?
Yeah, I think, I mean, imagine a third grader running a tech company. That's probably about my personality, right? And so I think we're doing things on instinct. And if you want to call it the providence of the Holy Spirit, I'll take that. But I wish I was more thoughtful in what we were doing. It really was about having fun and just making work a place that you'd want to go to, and make the people that you'd work with enjoyable. And if you would do that, what would happen to your work? And, can you actually look at work as a place where you go to not only develop in your personal skills and make an impact with your, profession, but also be advanced as a human being as well. And so we would lean into the whole side of people's personal life, the personal finances and fitness. And we had all these little small groups and things going on, and just trying to better equip people as humans. And so it was really kind of on instinct, along with this kind of really wild flair of fun. And what we did on accident and by instinct, we now do on purpose, because now we realize how much of the kingdom is present there. Especially in the value of being generous. It didn't benefit us necessarily back then, until we faced extinction. And then the overwhelming response is the team decided to stay with a sinking ship. How do you get that? You only get that by having a culture which people would actually surrender almost their livelihood to be part of still. That they had received something that we had done, where they are going to go on a limb for us. So I think one of the instrumental parts of that journey, though, was a group called Praxis. And they have a term coined redemptive entrepreneurship. And that was, on the periphery there of, like, how do you make a company that is existing to advance people and not to exploit them? So that was certainly in line with our values, but being men of faith, like, you have to walk delicately when it comes to business. And so I think most people think of, where does my faith show up at work? And it's like, well, I'm going to do a secret Bible study during lunch. And it's like, well, how about if we are the most generous company humanly possible? If God so loved the world, he gave. Like, his marker is through his generosity. 1 Peter 3:15, live in such a way that people demand an explanation. So built into my ethos and the way I look at the world is, I want to live in such a way where people demand to know why we do things the way we do. One of those things we do is we take all of our staff, their spouses, and their kids, and we go out of country every single summer together for just fun and for play. I mean, it's this enormous expense, right? But it's this wild expression of generosity. that allows us to bring forward our values of a generous kingdom that says this is present within us and our values. And so much of our journey was really by accident, by instinct, and by the power of the Holy Spirit. But now we realize, we can really lean into these principles of the kingdom and express them in these, incredible ways, because that is what impacts people, is how they experience it, not how we sneak in a Jesus fish sticker, on a different place. So it's been such a wonderful journey.
That's awesome. I mean, you're describing that you're an intuitive leader, where it's like, and my question with that is, like, I can relate to that. And I remember leading organizations where I just know what we're supposed to do, but I would expect everyone else to know what to do. I was like,
Right.
and I realized not everyone's wired that way. How is that the way you're wired? And obviously your team's not wired exactly like you. What have you, as far as filling in the gaps for your weaknesses, but also just empowering people to even excel beyond where you would in a particular area? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, really our senior team, we've got some amazing people on our senior team that really care for people. Uh, Often it's referred to as like head count, right? And I heard a term recently, it's heart count. And it really like embodied what I think we value for our culture, which is the human lives, the souls that were there when we were facing extinction and having to lay off, basically the entire company. What's going through our minds is like the people who are newly pregnant, the people who left bigger jobs to come to us, the people who, have surrendered a lot of other opportunities to work for us. And so we have, I think, built into our senior leadership a reverence and a value for the humanity of people, their hearts, their families, and looks to them first as humans before it looks to them for what they can perform and give to us. Certainly all of the fun, like you have to be high performance and high relationship and high generosity, but like the fun is made possible by the high performance. But I would say that our leadership and the people that make up that leadership, they all have the same passion and love for people. They want to see them advance. They want to care for them in every part of their being, especially their humanity. And so that deep love for people, it's all it is. It's just love people to such a radical extent where it breaks the pattern that they expect. So many people look at their employer, look at companies as this transactional kind of exploitative relationship. You have even contemporary thoughts called, quiet quitting, right? Like I'm being exploited and I'm going to do the bare minimum in order not to get fired, right? That's what they come to. And their disposition is like, I'm getting screwed, and we want to have people feel like they're so empowered and loved and supported that they don't have this low level distrust. But it all comes from that love of people that really you can't escape. Like if you don't love people, you can't do these things. So everything we do, from generosity to the fun, to the zany antics, to how we run everything, it's all about, how do we wildly love people for the glory of God?
I love that. Such a value for honoring people that, and you said no one left in the midst of kind of the low moment, right?
When they should have left.
2020.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So COVID hits, it's crazy. Everything's hitting the fan. Your world is completely shut down as far as events. Like what do you do? Like in that moment, I mean, you mentioned you wept as a team, but it's like, what was kind of like, was there a catalytic moment where it's just like, no, this is not going to fail? Like, or just something almost overcame you? What did that look like?
I think the first thing, at least for me personally, is pursuing my identity and my relationship with God first for a long time. What people typically do is they'll wait till a crisis to then like press in. And so when the defecation hit the ventilation, it was go time. And what I felt that God had said to me and broadly to our team is that we're actually prepared for this. We have muscles for this. We had built muscles when there was no storm, so that when a storm came, we'd be ready. And so it was odd where there's this like weird sense of preparedness. And I had no idea that I'd been prior in my personal life, my private life, been training and building these muscles for a competition and a battle I didn't know would be fought, and I didn't know when. And so it was a brand new way for me to kind of understand that during the high fives and the charts that were up and to the right and the catered lunches and all the, trips and everything like that, I was still developing like this thing, which is fun, is not who I am. I am first a son, and I'm beloved. I'm given every spiritual blessing. I've got the mind of Christ. And so leaning into that, even when it was great, so that when everything fell apart, it's like, well, I can flip a burger. I'm sure I'm employable somewhere, right? Like, but it doesn't change who I am. And to know that my identity was not collapsing with my company was incredibly helpful, because then I could approach the challenge with a sound mind and not in this panic and fear of like, all my life's work is gone, which, I mean, that's how it felt. And it felt like it was not fair. Like all my life's work has been taken from me, but it didn't penetrate to my identity. And so where other people would maybe scramble and, God, what are you doing? And react in this, why, and this moaning, it was like, all right, God, help me partner with you. Help us see things that nobody else has seen. And that was one of our biggest prayers, is that we would be able to see what nobody else would see in the marketplace. And we had incredible prophetic words for the team. One was that Isaac sowed in a famine and reaped 100-fold. We had other people who gave an imagery of, Jesus telling the disciples to cast a net on the other side of the boat, of David stepping on the field against Goliath. And he didn't just take one stone, he took 5, And so from that, all right, what about this is that? So like the David and the 5 stones, it's like, well, it's not going to be one thing we're going to do. Most of the companies did one pivot: virtual events. We launched 22 different features during COVID. It's like we walked in the battlefield 22 stones, right? We're going to go for it. So, one was giving God every single opportunity to breathe on these efforts to try to rebuild and to survive. We found other uses for our software. So while indoor events were canceled, outdoor events flourished and went bananas. And we found a way for our software to be used to govern and restrict how many people could be at these kind of gathering locations outside. That was the casting the net on the other side of the boat. And then Isaac sown in a famine, we found agritourism, these farms in these places, these agricultural establishments that do pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and some crazy things. Those were booming. And so our software was able to work with them. And ultimately, we set a record revenue month by finding that market that nobody else had found. We set a record revenue month in September of 2020, and then we doubled that number in October, and then matched that number almost in November. And so it was this tidal wave tsunami. But as we went through, feeling that we are partnering with God to overcome these trials. So many people, especially Christians, have toxic theology that says, well, these trials are coming from God. If they're coming from God, why would you resist? You wouldn't, right? Like you're there to like take it and learn from it. But if we are more than conquerors, in these things, battles, trials, tribulations, recessions, pandemics, we are more than conquerors. And so having a disposition of that, we can overcome that which comes against us. Greater is he who is in me than he's in the world. And we are going to rise up. It still might not work. I mean, we have to face the reality of like, we can do our best and maybe not still get our way. But I'm not tying my theology, and I'm not tying God's divine hand striking us down in my belief system to what was happening to us. We could rise up and partner with God to fight and to step out. And so fortunately for us, in our team, we were aligned. We're like, we're going to fight. We're going to get through it. And if it goes to ashes, we'll rebuild. That was our mentality. And I'm so thankful that God just showed up the way he did.
It's amazing. And I love how it's not like you just sat in a prayer room and waited for God to do something. Like, hey, we're going to throw things out there for God to breathe on. And if it's one and it explodes, that's all we need. You mentioned 2008, you start this thing, right? It's crazy economy. Things are crashing. And now we're in this kind of unique kind of era right now where it's like people don't know what's coming. It's like, are things cracking? Like, is it going to be crazy? Is it not? I look at history and it's like some of the best ideas some of the best businesses started in the craziest times.
Hmm.
What
Yep.
would you say to someone who's like, I'm thinking about starting something, but I just feel like if I try to start it now with what might come, like, if you had a room of 50 people that had all a good idea and they're thinking about starting it, but there's this fear of what's to come, what would you say?
Well, there's no better time than right now, than the present. You'll never find the perfect time. We are professionals at coming up with excuses for why not to do things. There'll always be a better time. You'll always have more money. You always have like a better excuse of, well, when I have this or that. And so you will never run out of excuses to pursue your destiny because they intimidate us. And when you really think about it, the fear of failure, well, what is it? Well, unless you're boarding a rocket ship, the worst case scenario is you probably just go back to what you're doing. So the marginal fear that we have about pursuing something, very rarely is it large financial loss. That's not typically, people are not, going all that in. Most people, when they're starting things, it's small, right? And so, but there's so much fear around me even doing that. When we really think about it, it is the opinions of people that is holding you back, the fear of man. And so you are holding hostage your destiny for the fear of failure about somebody else's opinion about what they think about you if you're embarrassed by it not working out. And that's a terrible way to live. I think, well, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's fine too. Try something else. When I was engaged to my wife, she was full-time in graduate school and I was a, entrepreneur trying to support ourselves. And I was like, I figured it out. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. And so all I need to do is to start 10 businesses and one of them will succeed. And I just had this mentality of like, well, keep trying, keep trying. If this doesn't work out, try that. And if that doesn't work out, that's going to lead to something, which leads to something, and that will be the thing. And so we need to think about how to get into the market, how to try things, how to just bring something to life, and then begin to iterate on it. But so many people, they get racked with fear, and really it's the fear of other people. And they're trying to strategize, how do I figure out one opportunity, one shot? It'd be like stepping onto Major League Baseball field after reading all the books about baseball and swing form and, distance and velocity and air resistance, and trying to hit a home run. Like, you're never going to do that. You're only going to hit a home run by stepping to the plate a number of times, taking a lot of swings, and ultimately developing it. Like, the home runs are earned. They're not these like lucky shots. I mean, occasionally you get somebody who's just really lucky on timing, but entrepreneurship really is a story of people who don't quit, who keep on iterating and improving. And that breeds the success, that breeds the breakthrough. So people who are waiting and chicken, I'm here to tell you, the thing that's holding you back is the fear of somebody else's opinion. And you're surrendering your future to the opinion of somebody else that's not you. It's easy to be the critic. And to try something is great. Try something and let it fail. Great. You're going to be better for it. You're going to learn more, and that'll help you the next time. And stop delaying. Just jump in.
Just stop it. So what do you do to help continue to develop yourself? Are there certain things that you specifically do? Is that more intuitive as well? I feel like I need this, let's do that. Or is it more methodical?
First, try to develop myself as a human being. First, as I want to be a disciplined man of God. I want to have my inflows and my relationship with God be vibrant. From that and from my heart flows all the springs of life. So my inner world is the first thing that is going to dictate my outer world. So if I'm not at peace in my personal and private life, I'm going to be a wreck with my public life, with my team and other people. So I'm very stringent on my personal routine, my pursuits of the scriptures and pursuits of my private time with the Lord. And so it all starts there. That also dovetails my family. I want to make sure my family's taken care of. I don't want to build a business on and sacrifice my family on the altar of my business, And so I take great care with my kids and my wife to make sure home life is great. On a skill level, on a personnel level, self-awareness. I need to know my strengths, but I also need to know my strengths when they become a detriment. I think it was Chris Valentin said that your greatest weakness is actually your greatest strength overemphasized. And so knowing what I bring, which is a strength, of knowing when I overextend that, I start to leave bruises and cause destruction. So self-awareness of like, where am I effective, but also where am I detriment? Inviting feedback. I'll do that in a lot of our, kind of team meetings and privately. People like, are you seeing anything that I'm not seeing? I invite the feedback. I, of course, consume and listen to other podcasts and other speakers and other authors and people on things like leadership and personal development. Having humility, having brave conversations that are difficult, having vulnerability, all the different dynamics of confrontation and just being a good human. I press into there as well. But you have to, as a leader, you have to live out what you want other people to embody because they're looking to you. So I pursue that with great passion and energy. But I'm always trying to seek feedback. It's hard. It's not easy when people say, hey, kind of being a jerk right now. And so, but you have to develop that willingness to hear that. You'll never change as long as you've got all these people that are afraid to tiptoe around you and afraid to tell you the truth. And so if you invite the feedback, you'll know how to grow and how to develop as a leader and as a person. So I'm trying to be the best I can, but in that, you also have to be really real with where you're not good and how you are failing in certain ways. And I've realized that the team really values that. Probably the most common thing I'll say to our team is like, I've never done this before. I've never done this, and leadership sometimes expects you, or we would expect leadership of us, would expect that we always have the answers. I know the way, I know I'm right, and follow in line. And there's a belief that is strong leadership. I actually think a stronger leadership is, this is the way, this is our vision, this is the world we want to have created by our efforts. But I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before, but I want you to join me. And as we hit a snag, if we need to zig or zag, we're going to do that. We're going to learn, we're going to move forward. But leaders who pretend to know it all will lose their trust from their entire team if they're ever wrong. And it's very hard to get back. So our team trusts us in such an incredible way. But part of that is built on our craving of the feedback, the inputs that we get from them, but also the humility to try to say, this is the direction we're going. We have a really good hunch. We've got great vision. We're going to go for it. At the end of the day, we kind of don't know. And we're going to try our best. And if we need to zig and zag, we're going to do that too.
I mean, you're building the ultimate safe space, really. Like, this is a spot for people to R&D, take risks, in an environment where there's honor, there's humility, there's generosity. And I think, you were kind of answering the question I was thinking in my mind of, what have been kind of the outcomes in your team as you've modeled this humility, and also just, hey, I have people in my life that provide feedback. And what does that look like with your team, like bringing feedback?
Yeah, the team is really bonded. As we've grown and as we've scaled, there's certainly challenges with that. When we were 40 people, it was a lot easier. Everyone had great, vibrant relationships with every single person. At 100 people, where 50 are in one office and 50 are remote, is a lot harder. But the outflows, is ultimately from all the things that we do on a company culture level is high performance. We probably punch at a 800, 900 person company. So we've got $5 billion companies that we compete against, and every day we take a little bit of market share from them. So we're winning in these kind of like little tiny victories and battles. And so our output from a company culture level and a performance level is incredible. And that's because people stay for a long time with us. We've got a lot of people who are this year, like approaching 15 years working with us, 10 years, 8 years, 9 years. I mean, these are anomalies for the tech company industry. The tech industry has higher turnover than retail. People on average spend, 12 to 16 months at a tech company. And so our people stay for a really long time. So the longevity is really one of the hallmarks of a team that trusts each other. we encourage confrontation, healthy confrontation, rather than, internalizing things and becoming bitter and resentful. Like we encourage people to have rumbles and to get these conversations out, because there are going to be problems. There's going to be sparks, high performance people, they're going to step on each other's toes, and there's going to be misunderstandings, and that's part of it. And when you go through those things, the relationship has the possibility to become better on the other side of it. So the team broadly has great communication skills and a bond between them that they can navigate bumps and hiccups and speed bumps along the way. But ultimately, the biggest outflow is people who stay for a long time. And the result that we're able to contribute in the marketplace is just exponential. I look at the features we launch and I'm like, man, we are just crushing it compared to these, people have got 500 people on their staff. Like we are producing incredible accomplishments in our work. And so I really attribute that to the team dynamic.
Come on, man. They want to build the future because they're in a safe place to do so. It's amazing. What's the dream moving forward?
To not mess it up. I am having the best time of my life with the best people in my life and doing the best work of my life. And so I've already reached the finish line. I've already reached the embodiment of all the things I've ever dreamed of. But I want to do it more. I want to continue this experiment of, can we have the most generous, empowering, and fun company culture ever while competing against billion-dollar competitors and continue to gain market share? And so there's a thrill for that. But, as we set growth targets and, healthy things grow, right? Like you want to grow. As we grow, it provides us the ability to do all the fun things and also to invest in the future. And so we want to grow, but I don't want to grow at the expense of people. I don't want to grow at all costs and have to change headcount. I don't want to have to lay people off if we were too ambitious and too prideful of the market. So I want to grow responsibly, and I want to grow methodically and strategically. We're in this for the long haul, in the long game. And so while everybody else is trying to make split decision choices and to try to short-term gains, we are just plugging along. I'm not going to be manipulated into surrendering my values, my character, my culture for some arbitrary number or gain. I want to do this for the long term. I want to do it with the right people. So really, it's just continue to do more. I mean, I've got a product roadmap that will last until Jesus returns. So I've got product ideas and I've got extensions and features and all that's there. But bigger than that is I want to continue to have this company culture scale as long as it can. It's harder. It's way harder at our size than it was before. But just because it's harder doesn't mean it's impossible. So I feel like I'm getting away with an experiment and it's still working, and I want to keep on trying it. So, but yeah, continue to grow, continue to dominate our markets, do it with great people, build lasting relationships, make lifetime memories, make some money, give it back to our people, and do it all over again.
Awesome. One last question before I get there. A special shout out to our pray.com fans on there, followers. Love you guys. Make sure to check out our free newsletter, Divine Advantage newsletter. It's got world-class content, help you to learn how to scale your business, grow your business, buy or sell your business. There's no gimmick and no upsell. It's just free, valuable content. So last question, Eric, what are kind of some initiatives, projects that you love to let that outrageous generosity flow into?
I'd say our company trip is really one of the highlights. A typical company, if they do a trip, they might take their top sales executives. Maybe they take the sales executives and their spouses and tell them to stay away. I don't know a single company that takes all their staff. I don't know a single company that takes all their staff and their spouses. I don't know a single company that takes all their staff, their spouses, and their kids. Like when we go to our team, I want their kids to go. We have one gentleman, his name's Seth. He's got 10 kids. I mean, single-handedly, his family shows up on our P&L, for this company trip. And so, but we want them there. We want them to build lasting lifetime memories. It's such a joy because we go out of country every year. when people, it's like the first time they've ever had a passport or left the country. Some people, it's like the first time out of state or on an airplane. And so that is enormously satisfying. And the trips we do, people are like, this is better than my honeymoon. This is the greatest trip I've ever gone on. And so we do that trip so that people would have fun. This past year, we went to Cancun, and it was 233 people in Cancun together. So this next year, I think we're going to breach, 300 people on the trip, possibly, or right around there. Taking 300 people out of country is wild. So it's probably the most generous and wild thing that we do. And what we get in return for it is these memories and these family experiences where kids that may have not been able to go on out of country or kind of because it's all expenses paid. We do these all-inclusive things. It's the nicest trips that so many of our staff have ever been on. And so it feels deeply satisfying to know that from a company perspective, we're able to facilitate these peak experiences and memories and provide experiences that the family would never have done otherwise that year or maybe ever prior. So that's incredibly rewarding. I'd probably say that's my favorite thing that we do. But we do all sorts of ridiculous and crazy things. I think we're generous in terms of affirmations and praise. It's really a lost art form, I think, of like telling people, hey, I noticed what you did and it was amazing and thank you. We'll do surprise bonuses for people and do things where we, gang up on them and give them affirmations about it. We'll start a lot of meetings typically and go around and affirm each other. So that generous praise to people's work just reaches their souls. So we try to be generous in a financial, in a perk, in a benefits, in a compensation level, but also at a heart level, in a words of affirmation level. And so, just a few of those things. But the list is a long list of things we do. But the company trip is a very special place in my heart.
It's amazing, man. Well, bro, thanks so much for taking some time. I know you get a lot spinning on your plates, but if you're willing, would you just pray for those that are tuning in, a business owner, a person that has an idea, wherever they are in that spectrum? But that'd be amazing.
Absolutely. Jesus, we just thank you, God, that you are the greatest creative force that any person listening or watching could ever tap into. Thank you, Lord, that you call us co-laborers with you, that you call us into partnership, and that you've given us every spiritual blessing. You've given us everything pertaining to life and godliness according to the knowledge of you. Thank you that we have fullness, that we are fully equipped for every single challenge. And so for those that are in a season of abundance and success, God, we ask that you would draw them to your heart, that you would draw them closer into collaboration with you in the furthering of their success, but also a deepening of their relationship with you. For those who are going through a rough patch that is marked with trials and hardships and adversity, God, we ask that you would renew their minds, that you are there to assist and to help them conquer all that comes against them, and to know that their identity is not in the thing that they're building right now, but in their relationship with you. And God, for those who have dreams in their hearts, God, thank you. Psalm 37:4, I have given you the desires of your heart. Lord, thank you that those things in us are divinely inspired, whether they are to just be for our pursuit, to explore, to experience, or whether, Lord, you want to use the things in our hearts to change the world around us. God, we just look to you as our creative inspiration. Would you just show yourself in such mighty ways to every single person, and to draw them into the deeper collaboration with you in all things that they put their hands on. God, we just thank you for your goodness, your heart, and your mercies towards us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So my co-host Eric couldn't make it today. We'll be banging on the next one. But real quick too, if you're looking for an amazing platform, like if you got a church, an organization, a nonprofit, looking for a giving platform, I've used Webconnex, I think, since 2008. I remember the beta version.
Yeah, you are OG. Yes.
OG. It's amazing. They also have for ticketing events, registration, there's a lot of different things they're doing. I would definitely check them out. Go to webconnex.com. and you will not be sorry for getting connected to all that good stuff. So, Eric, thanks so much for taking time, man. You're amazing. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Such an honor. Thank you.
Yeah. Peace, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Divine Advantage podcast.